Lately, I've been on a kick with modern adaptations of classic stories like Emma of 83rd Street and fun historical fantasy mashups like My Calamity Jane. There's something about revisiting old favorites with a twist or diving into history with a splash of fantasy that really draws me in. How about you? When was the last time you read for yourself? And no, I'm not talking about bedtime stories with the kids or scrolling social media. I mean, really getting sucked into a story that you love. As busy mamas, it's so easy to put our own reading on the back burner, even if it's something that we enjoy. Let's face it, parenting is exhausting. By the time you get the kids down for the night, all you want to do is crash or maybe escape into a TikTok video or a TV show. I get it, believe me, I do. But carving out time for your own reading isn't just another task to cram into your day. It's self-care and it's essential for your well-being. Not only that, but it can have a huge impact on your kids too. Most of the moms I talk to are already book lovers, but if you're listening today and find yourself struggling to enjoy reading just as much as your kids are, or maybe you've fallen out of the habit, don't worry, I've been there too. As a recovering reluctant reader, there are still times when I've got to put in the extra effort to keep reading front and center in my life. In this episode, I'm talking about why reading for yourself matters, how to squeeze it in even on your busiest days, how to get past those reading blahs, and how to use your own reading time to model a love of reading for your kids. Trust me, you deserve this time and the chance to fall in love with stories just like they do. So why does making time for your own reading matter? First, reading is a great way to take care of your personal well-being. It helps reduce stress, improves focus, and gives you a much-needed mental escape from the daily grind of parenting. Think of it as a mini vacation for your brain, a simple act of self-care that doesn't require much time or money, as say, a massage or a therapy session. And here's something we often forget. Reading isn't just for us. When your kids see you reading with a book, especially a reluctant reader, it normalizes reading as something valuable and entertaining. We'll dive deeper into modeling this habit for your kids later, but for now, just know this. If they never catch you reading, how will they believe you when you say it's something worth doing? Finally, don't underestimate how your reading can spark curiosity and meaningful conversations with your kids. I love talking to my boys about the books I'm enjoying, whether it's the bizarre worlds of your latest fantasy book or imagining what it would be like to live in a time of one of my historical fiction stories. It shows them that learning and growing doesn't just stop because you're an adult. Here's the real question. Why do you deserve to make reading a priority? Taking time for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. You've probably heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, I believe that's absolutely true. Reading can be one of the simplest ways to boost your energy, clear your mind, and bring out your calmer, happier self. And let's be honest, when mom's happy, everyone's happy. When I take that time to read, it doesn't just recharge me, it helps me show up as the mom I want to be. Whether it's keeping my cool during homework time, when tension runs high, or being fully present at dinner, reading gives me the reset that I need. When you prioritize that time for yourself, you're teaching your kids an important lesson. Trust me, my boys definitely notice when I carve out time for reading instead of working nonstop or tuning out when life gets hard. They're learning that taking care of yourself is just as important as taking care of everything else. It's a lesson I hope they'll carry into adulthood. Not just the habit of reading, but the idea that self-care is essential, not optional. And isn't that what we want, to raise kids who know how to strike a healthy balance in their lives? Finally, let's not forget how reading helps you reconnect with yourself. As moms, it's so easy to get caught up in all the things we do for our kids. Meals, homework, housework, after-school activities, you name it. What lights you up? What are your interests and passions beyond all of the hats that you wear as a parent? Reading is a great way to rediscover that part of yourself. So how do you actually find the time to read when life feels nonstop? You don't need hours. 10 minutes or a single chapter is a great place to start. You can break it up across the day, maybe a few pages with your morning coffee, during your lunch break, or right before bed. Sometimes it's all about making the most of those little pockets of time, rather than a set schedule. You can always adjust based on what your day looks like. Flexibility is key. When the weather's nice, I like to grab a table under the trees outside the boys' school. I show up a few extra minutes before pickup, and I enjoy the fresh air. I catch some rays, and I crack open my book or pop in my earbuds to listen to an audiobook. It may not seem like much, but those few minutes under the trees really help me reset before the evening chaos kicks in. And let's talk about audiobooks. They're an absolute lifesaver for busy parents. Audiobooks turn non-reading moments into opportunities to enjoy a story. Think about all the time you spend commuting or waiting in the school pickup line, doing household chores. With audiobooks, you don't need a quiet room or a free hand, just your phone and earbuds. It's multitasking at its best, and it really takes the pressure off trying to find a large chunk of time to sit down with a book. Not to mention, it makes those tedious tasks feel way more exciting to accomplish. Besides, they're a great option if you're a slow reader like me. Or if you want to get through a story faster, you can even adjust the playback speed to match your pace. a feature I love when I'm dying to know how a story unfolds. And while audiobooks are great for multitasking, there's something special about putting down your phone and ending your day with a physical book. Giving yourself a break from screens, even if it's just a few pages or a chapter, can be a small tweak with a big payoff. Instead of scrolling through social media or falling into the TV trap, winding down with a good book helps you sleep better and wake up feeling like you've already done something for yourself. I know carving out even 10 minutes can feel impossible some days, but it's all about starting small. Once you find your groove, whether it's a chapter in the pickup line or while your kids are busy with an activity after school, or a quick listen to an audiobook while folding the laundry, it becomes second nature. About those times when you just don't feel like reading. Even the most dedicated bookworms hit a slump sometimes, myself included, especially when life gets overwhelming. It's totally normal to feel this way, but the good news is there are plenty of ways to get back on track. When my reading habit starts to veer off course, it's usually because I've fallen into binge watching TV shows or movies all over again. To get back into the reading groove, I set up little rewards for myself, like buying the next book in the series or from my TBR list. Once I'm three-quarters of the way through my current book, it gives me something to look forward to and it keeps me motivated. If that's not enough, I create a rule. No TVs or movies until I've done some reading for the day. This often works so well that I'll end up reading all the way until bedtime and skip the screen time altogether. If reading feels like a chore, it might just mean you need a change of pace. Try a new genre, maybe a bit of romance or a gripping thriller, or even a nonfiction book that helps you learn and grow. Sometimes a fresh perspective is just the ticket. If that doesn't work, consider a fun reading challenge or finding a book club or a reading buddy to help keep you accountable. Having someone to share your journey with, or just knowing you're part of a group, can make reading feel more exciting and social. Plus, it helps you stay on top of reading to avoid any unwanted spoilers. Challenges or buddy reading doesn't click. Try an audiobook. Sometimes it's not the books themselves that are the issue, it's the way we're engaging with them. Switching to a different format like audiobooks can make stories feel fresh again. A good narrator can breathe life into a story in a way that feels entirely new, making audiobooks the perfect reset button when you're stuck in a rut. Audiobooks are also fantastic for jump-starting momentum. Once I get hooked, I'm always searching for those little moments to keep listening. And if none of that works, it's okay to take a break. Rediscovering your love of reading often starts with giving yourself the space to miss it. Last May, June, somewhere in there, I felt like I was on a runaway train between celebrating Hunter's birthday, juggling a zillion school events, and preparing for the boys' first summer in camp. I was feeling overwhelmed, and reading fell completely off my radar. But during a trip to the library to grab some books for the boys to keep up their summer reading, I stumbled across Meet Me in London from the Meet Me series. It was just what I needed to spark my love of reading again. It was a change of pace from the historical fiction that I'd been reading and a gripping romance novel with just enough will they or won't they drama to pull me back in. I found myself grabbing the book every chance I got. I loved the series so much that the next three titles quickly ended up on my TBR list. I finally got my hands on the last two for Christmas, and they're first up as soon as I finish my current read. The point is, sometimes stepping away for a bit and finding the right book at the right time is all it takes to kickstart the habit when it's fallen to the wayside. Earlier, I mentioned how our kids notice what we do. Let me share with you how I've seen this play out in my own home. This past fall, I volunteered at the school book fair, and the librarian kept featuring I Survived the Sinking of Titanic 1912. I must have heard him talk about it a dozen times, and it piqued my interests. My husband was recovering from knee surgery, and honestly, my reading habit had fallen off track again. Between driving him to PT appointments, adjusting to our new routine, I just hadn't made time for myself. But I missed reading, and I knew I needed something light and easy to dive back into to get my habit going again. So I snagged a copy of the I Survived book for myself. I didn't care that it was a kid's book. In fact, when JD saw me reading it, he called me on it and said, "Mommy, is that a book from my book fair?" I told him stories are for everyone, regardless of age. That night we ended up reading it together, and the rest is history. Over the last 2 months, we've been working our way through the series, and it's been a fabulous bonding experience. JD's interest in reading has really been re-energized, too. Just the other day, he came home from school and told me that he's already read the first 10 chapters in I Survived the Battle of Gettysburg, 1863, without me. I won't lie, that stung a bit since we've been reading these books together, but boy was I proud of him for reading on his own. He promised we could read it again together once our next book order arrives. It's moments like these when your kids see you prioritizing and enjoying reading that can spark conversations and connections. Whether it's a book you can dive into together or just an opportunity to teach them that reading is a source of entertainment or a chance to learn something new, your enthusiasm for books can be contagious. So be intentional about letting them see you read. Don't always wait until after they're asleep or out of the house. Sure, it's easier to read uninterrupted at those times, but sharing your reading habit openly sends a stronger message. Reading is something to celebrate and enjoy together, not something to keep hidden away. How can you make reading something you actually look forward to without the pressure to do it perfectly? You don't have to finish a book in one sitting or even in 1 month. Sometimes grabbing a few minutes here and there is more than enough to recharge. For me, reading can be exactly what I need to reset after a tough day. You know those nights when you've had a fight with your significant other and your brain just won't let it go? I'm left tossing and turning, replaying every word in my head while my husband's next to me sleeping like a baby. Sound familiar? What I've found is picking up a book, even for just 10 or 15 minutes, helps quiet all the noise in my head so I can finally get some sleep. It's so much better than turning on the TV and getting sucked into a show, and then next thing you know, it's 2 a.m., right? Reading is my go-to reset button. It gives me a chance to unwind and let go, so I'm not lying there overthinking everything all night. And hey, if you only read a few pages before you nod off, it still counts. It's not about how much you read. It's about finding those little moments that help you feel a bit more like yourself. So here's something I want you to think about. Making time to read is about more than just finding a moment for yourself. It's about setting an example for your kids and reminding yourself what lights you up. So pick a book, set a timer for 10 minutes, or aim for a single chapter. See how it feels to rediscover reading for yourself. Happy reading. Next week, we're talking about early literacy, how to help our kids grow into readers who actually enjoy it. Now, episode 7 is going to be a two-parter, so here's what you can look forward to. In part 1, I'll be focusing on the early years, from birth to age 5. These are the years where everything starts to come together and really sets the stage for what's ahead. I'll share simple, fun ways to build a strong reading foundation through play and story time. Plus, the red flags to watch for so you can tackle any challenges early, because early intervention makes such a difference. Then, in part 2, we'll move into the next phase. How to keep those reading skills growing as your kids get older, how to spot if they're struggling, and what to do if they're falling behind. I'll also give you tips to keep reading fun and motivating, even for those kids that aren't naturally drawn to books. So join me next week for part 1, where we'll talk about turning small everyday moments into opportunities to grow a lifelong love of books. You don't want to miss it.